Good morning, everybody, and welcome all to Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Day 2 of racing here for the GT World Challenge America Championships powered by AWS. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish. We have Ryan Marine in pit lane, and you are looking at the grid for the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint X Championship, as that field is getting set to head out for the second race of this doubleheader weekend, round 2 of the championship chase. And right now we are looking at vastly different weather here for starters for this morning, Cal. That's good news.
It is. It's a lot brighter day than we saw here yesterday, which was somewhat of a surprise for all of the competitors. It was very cold yesterday morning, a light drizzle, which made the racetrack treacherous. We saw numerous spins and people getting away with things in qualifying at least, but it looks like a nice bright day, and what a performance by Andrew Davis. There you're looking at our pole sitter, the GMG Porsche, Andrew Davis on the pole by 3/10. So it was a masterful performance, but he's got a lot of hungry competitors right behind him, including the winner from yesterday, Jason Hart.
Absolutely, and it was a huge day yesterday, speaking of Jason Hart, for NOLA Sport.
Yeah, they won both the Pro-Am and the Am classes, and for Jason Hart, Matt Travis, their 3rd consecutive victory here at Circuit of the Americas. But I spoke to Jason this morning. He said, you know what, today's race, we want the win, but we are definitely thinking big picture. They went on a tear at the beginning of last year, winning 5 straight, but missed out on the title. Today, if anyone gets too aggressive with them, he's going to let them take them position, try and turn that car over to Matt Travis in good shape, and try and get a nice point score here today.
There's a look at Jason giving us a wave inside that 47 NOLA Sport car. There's the number 37. That is the RS1 Porsche. It'll be started by Jan Halen in this race. That is the older variant of the Porsche Cayman, and the interesting story on that is he was talking about, you can see they've been in the wars there just a little bit, but he was talking about, he said, that car does not have a pit speed limiter on it. And he said, so if you see cars stacked up behind us, we're doing our best. He said, but we're seeing speed in this car. That's why we chose it. There's one of the new Aston Martins. And Cal, this is being run this year by Flying Lizard Motorsports. That's the Dynan Foley entry.
Yeah, and this car has a lot of potential. It was a Porsche sweep at the podium here yesterday. Expect those Aston Martins to come to the front here today. Robbie Foley will start from the 5th spot on the grid, but his teammate had a win yesterday in the Am class in the sprint race, so Michael Dynan's got a lot of confidence going into the race today.
There's Mads Siljehaugen. He is driving the car that sat on the pole for yesterday's race 1. Didn't quite get the qualifying run they wanted today, but that car has shown some speed.
It has. Nikolai Alganian had the pole here yesterday and took off at the beginning, and then during the pit stop, it all went awry. The main problem was they got the seat insert in upside down, so hopefully they're going to correct that for today.
There's a good look there at Patrick Gallagher. That's the 2nd of the RS1 entries. This, too, though, an Aston Martin, so that team running 2 different cars. And Patrick Gallagher, of course, we're very familiar with him. He's been in this championship driving a lot of different equipment, always wickedly quick. And the guy that he's racing with, Joe Dalton, has done Ferrari Challenge-type cars at Montecito Motor Club. But this is really Joe's first foray into the big time. And speaking of big time, Bill Oberlin.
Yeah, and I think this is Bill's 430th competitive start in a BMW, so he knows the brand well. And he's a little bit further back on the grid than we anticipated, but it seems like the BMW is not that well suited to Circuit of the Americas. It all comes down to horses for courses, and they're just trying to get some points on the board as he teams up with James Walker Jr. for a full season with Bimmer World.
Yeah, James really quick in TCR last year, making that step. Here is Andy Lee in the 511 Tactical number 8 GMG Motorsports Group Audi. And Andy, great to have him back in the paddock. Multiple winner over the years in GTS. He is sharing that car, the number 8, with Elias Sabo, and that is just great. Here's the DEXTER Racing Genetic. Great to have them back in the field as well. Warren Dexter this weekend running with Ben Anderson. And at the very front, I did want to mention that number 15, that is the Aston Martin Vantage of B Sport Racing, Brian Putt, who of course was a top competitor in the TCR Cup last year, decided to create his own team. He's working with Kenton Cook, his longtime coach, and they put that car on the outside of the front row. Kenton doing a great job. Last year's champ here in the National GT4 Sprint X, Greg Liafouge, once again back with that really stout Stephen Cameron Racing team.
Yeah, and it is a stout team. They went on a tear from mid-season on last year, just pipping the NOLA Sport team to the championship. I think, again, that makes a statement about the BMWs. He sits 11th on the grid.
Here's the number 54. Great to have Tim Pappas back, team this weekend. And starting this race is Jerome Bleekemolen. And you see the BLE flash up on the Luma rank. And we move over here. This is the number 7 entry that had a tremendous run yesterday. The win in the AM category. Sean Gibbons and Zach Anderson. Zach will be starting this car today, and it was all part of that fabulous day yesterday for NOLA Sport. And here's the Reardon Racing number 91, Vesko Kozarov, running, of course, with Jeff Burton, and they too have switched to that Aston Martin. A lot of people pretty pumped about the performance of that car.
Yeah, absolutely. It's shown a lot of potential last year, and there's been a lot of switch over to that manufacturer for this season.
Big field here, of course, 28 cars, so we're anticipating taking the green flag. There you have a look at it as they are stacked up in the pit lane here at what many have called the palatial Circuit of the Americas. It's a pretty amazing facility, 3.426 miles long, 20 corners, and about every kind of corner you could imagine in this track.
Yeah, it's super technical. It got a little bit bumpy over the last couple of years with some pretty abrupt winters that they had here. Not so much in terms of the cold, but the rain. A lot of rain over a couple of winters really put a lot of heaving in the surface. They've done a tremendous job. A lot of resurfacing as we go on this parade lap. You'll see it, particularly up through 1 and 2, then down the back stretch, and then the sector from the exit of turn 15 all the way to the exit of 19 has smoothed out some of the bumps. So some of the notebook that you used last year you can throw away and just try and get used to the new grip that's available to you.
All right, and the rest of the field, you saw Michael Cooper, a multiple champion in what was then Pirelli World Challenge competition. And this is the TRG team, of course, a absolute stalwart in road racing in North America for so many years. And we're getting ready for that grid to be released out on their pace lap. And there's only one here, and that's really due to track length, isn't it?
Yes, it's a long old lap here, so you don't need to waste too much time getting around for the start of this race. So everyone should have a chance to try and generate a little bit of energy into those Pirelli P0s. As we see the grid take off. Massive field here, 26 cars. 8 manufacturers. It's going to be a fun race.
You mentioned the Pirelli P0s. Every division in GT World Challenge America this year running on a new Pirelli tire spec, and everybody's still just getting used to those just a little bit. Here's the exit of turn 1, that 133-foot abrupt climb right to the apex, and it flattens out as you turn into the apex there, so you've got to get your braking done right. It's a tricky corner, then down through 2 and into this iconic section of S's. It just keeps tightening up and tightening up, doesn't it?
It does, but it's great because the way it's designed, you can see side-by-side racing. You need to give each other a little bit of elbow room, otherwise if you have contact at the high speed and the nature as you're transitioning through there, it can be a problem. But we saw some great racing yesterday. As always at this circuit, track limits is a hot button, and there were a few calls yesterday. We saw Jared Andretti, in fact, later in the day get a call for abusing the track limits primarily through this S's. So if you shortcut it too much and too often, you may get the call.
Well, if you get behind in your steering, as the old saying goes in these S's, the only way to deal with it is to just slow down, get back in your rhythm, or you're going to overshoot, and sometimes that's a little tough to do. The real area where we were seeing a lot of people getting really aggressive in that cut was that transition from 8 through 9. And we'll be coming up on that. It's well, actually, it's just back where they're coming up over the brow there. That was a real aggressive point. Now, this is a hugely important corner that they're leading into, Cal.
It is. This is the brake zone. As you see the Acura NSX pace car go through there, and it's wide open. You can make a move, but if you get down to the inside and you run a little bit wide, someone can do the over-under and come back at you as you exit this corner down the long back stretch. And this is where you're going to see a lot of passing from this point forward, because you can pick up the draft. There's certainly some deltas in the top speed between all of the manufacturers in this race here today.
Launch out of 11 is everything, especially if you're running in traffic here, as we continue to show you the starting lineup. A few of the cars having a little issue in the race, and so they're starting a bit farther back here after some issues in qualifying. You can see the fog on the track. That'll be something to deal with here as well. This now is turn 12. That's at the end of that long straight, and that's an area it's very easy to overshoot, and got a bunch of runoff down there, but it's the return from that runoff that can be problematic, Cal.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you plenty of runoff room, so you can be brave down into that corner. But if you do run out wide and you get the position, they're probably going to ask you to give it back. But this is where there's also a lot of resurfacing here. This is the triple apex, a right-hander. 16, 17, 18, it really loads up those outside tires.
Lights out on the NSX safety vehicle. We are ready to go racing here. Round 2 of Pirelli GT4 America's Sprint X Championship competition. And boy, this field is stretched out. It's the first 4 rows look pretty good. Rest of the field way stretched out. Here we go onto the front straight, and it is Andrew Davis in the number 2 Porsche leading him to the green. Now they start much farther down, and there is an acceleration or start zone. And once Andrew gets in there, he decides when the race starts, and he has decided we are green. Big move by the outside. I think that was Halen popping to the outside, trying to do something here, but it's Davis, and up and underneath comes the number 47, Jason Hart. A great start, Cal.
Yeah, it really was, and I love the fact that Jason told me about 10 minutes ago he's going to take it easy, and then he's rubbing elbows with Jan Halen through turn 1. So once the visor goes down, sometimes the thoughts go out of the window.
And I'm just really concerned about why that rest of that field was so stacked up. In the back of the field now, Cal, they're already a half a lap back. Somebody just not quite on the trigger when they needed to be there. But look at right now, Kenton Cook up on the back of Jan Halen in that white Aston Martin. And look at Matt Cilia, how he's got that very agile, nimble KTM crossbow right in the mix at that front end.
Yeah, and Robbie Foley all over the back of him in that black Flying Lizard Motorsport Aston Martin there, looking down at the inside. Can he make the move stick? Mads comes back at him at apex. But Aston Martin should out-accelerate that crossbow down this back straightaway.
No, the DEXTER Racing Ginetta running way wide there at 11. Of course, a lot of traffic. And you're right, yeah, Dynan was able to stay to the inside. Excuse me, Robbie Foley was able to stay to the inside. And that's the one weak link in that KTM. Because it's so light and agile, it has to run with a little bit less power, and on this long straight, that's a problem, and a big move there.
Two teammates going at it. They run a different championship together. That's Robbie Foley and Bill Auberlen in that white and blue and red BMW Bimmerworld machine down to the inside.
Yeah, every once in a while, it's good to go head-to-head against your teammate in another series and let them know what you're up to. But boy, I'll tell you, Mads, as he gets into the twisty stuff, and a big move right there down to the inside. Contact, Mads getting caught up in it.
Yeah, you can
the number 33 of Gallagher.
Yeah, you can see the experience of Bill Auberlen there. He tried to put the squeeze on, then made the right move in getting out of that situation, and he clears both of those cars just as he was looking likely to lose 2 positions.
Yeah, well, that's 430 races of experience paying off big time right there as we come around to complete lap number 1, and a big move here by Kozarov trying to get down to the inside of Gallagher, and he's inside now of the 36 of Andretti as well. A touch, another touch.
Wow. Everyone getting really aggressive here. I think they ate the Wheaties for breakfast, Greg.
I think so. Well, fierce opening lap action here. And seeing if everything settles up just a little bit. Andretti working the outside of Kozarov up into 1.
That bright blue McLaren there in the middle of this pack as Michael Cooper making his way back from a pretty disappointing qualifying performance.
Yes.
He's way down on the grid as things are starting to settle in. Oh, look at that sideways there by Jared Andretti through the S's.
Yeah, Cooper was in a sandwich, and I thought he was going to be squeezed right out. They all gave each other enough room, but I think they got Andretti just a little bit off that rhythm we were talking about. Yeah, he's used to sideways.
Yeah, I'm sure his pulse didn't even blip with that. He's used to being sideways with his experience on dirt.
There's that turn 8 and 9 we were talking about where they do tend to get behind the curve. And they're giving that to them if it's reasonable. If you start seeing those right side tires throw up dirt, that's when they get a little bit concerned in race control.
Yeah, Brian Till, the race director for GT4 this year, said, I will give you some track limit use through turn 8, but if you start kicking up dirt, then you're going to get the call.
Meanwhile, up at the sharp end of things, starting to settle a little bit. However, Bleekemolen is on the move as well here, up and alongside Bill Auberlen, and a little bit deeper on the brakes. He's through, picks that spot up, and Auberlen being pressured now by that 511 Tactical Audi in the hands of Andy Lee. Pappas in that bright red Black Swan Porsche.
Yeah, certainly they had a great run here yesterday, Bleekemolen and Pappas. Now we get a bit deeper into the pack and see Matt Cilia Howe trying to recover there from that early lap. The problem with this crossbow is if you get mine in the pack, it also has an issue with the way it overheats the engine. I was talking to the team this morning. They said we're on clean air, everything runs great, but if we get in pack racing, it really inhibits the ability for the performance and breathing of that engine.
And at the next round of the championship, they're anticipating that they will be running in the Evo version of the car, which has more power, a little less downforce, but more power and some narrower tire, which really in long straight should help them in terms of less drag as well. They're clicking their chops a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I'll just really improve what I call the raceability of that car. I'll have a similar dynamic in terms of straightaway speed and cornering speed to the rest of this GT4 field.
Jan Halen really pinching to the inside, going up into one. I think he was anticipating Kenton Cook in that white B Sport. Aston Martin doing a little bit more of a move than he did. Kenton really impressive in one of the practice sessions. How great is it to have him back actually racing a full season?
Yeah, he's a real talent, and he's one of those young drivers who I thought may slip through the net, but right now he's getting some opportunities again. As you can see, Halen really hanging on here in this RS1 Porsche. Doesn't look like the car is underneath him quite now, but he's super aggressive. He's not going to give away this third position easily. Right now, is Porsche running 1, 2, 3 as they finished yesterday, but the Aston Martins, as you can see, have a lot of pace this morning.
Yeah, and Bleekemolen is now, since he's cleared Abelin too, he's now 6th overall. There he is, and he is turning some times. So this could get even more interesting at this stage. But Kenton Cook still tucked right in behind in that Aries Aston Martin, trying to figure out a way around Jan Halen. That's never an easy job.
See a little bit of debris there on the back straightaway. Jan Halen is totally entitled to pick his line here. You cannot react to the move from behind, but you can certainly drive wherever you want on the racetrack and determine your line, even if it's different to the previous lap.
I think that bit of debris may have been off the front of Gallagher's Aston Martin because of that contact they had up in 11. It may have just peeled off on that run down that very long, fast straight.
Difficult here for Kenton Cook. Suddenly Robbie Foley's all over him. He's trying to set up here. Watch this. He's going to come off this corner with a lot more acceleration. Can he do anything with it?
Kent giving Halen just a little bit of a tap there, saying, look, Foley's pressuring big time. Want to get on with the program here, and we'll see just how Jan reacts to that. Through 19. This has always been a whoop. Here we go. Kenton Cook late on the brakes down into the final turn, but Halen's going to park right along the outside. Kenton Cook gives him that little bit of room. And that was made very clear in the drivers' meetings that nobody owns a corner here. And if somebody's alongside, you've got to give them the room here.
Battle for the lead.
Yeah, Hart really pressuring Davis now.
Yeah, NOLA Sports seem to have the magic sauce around this racetrack as he now is hounding the leader. Davis put a tremendous lap together in qualifying here yesterday. And it seems like the GMG Porsche is working really well, but in race conditions here, Jason Hart has caught our leader as they look for their fourth consecutive victory here.
Now we do have the pit stop, mandatory stop for the driver change here. Oh, and a really aggressive move by Kenton Cook, and Halen trying to stay with him around the outside. You can see the car suddenly snap loose just a little bit. And I think he was lucky to not have Foley be able to skate through, and Pappas has caught that group. But talking about Davis, when you do the driver change here, you do not change tires. Is Davis saying, look, I've got to save something here for my teammate?
Well, quite possibly. When you look at the fastest lap of the day, Jason Hart has it by 3/10 underneath Davis's times. They now accelerate side by side. Looks like Hart will have the inside line for the brake zone for turn 12, so you would assume they'll make this move for the lead.
Yeah, I think Davis was protecting a little bit, and at the last moment, heading into 11, you can see Hart swing out and get the better run through. What we talked about, exit of 11 is huge.
It really is, and right now I think Andrew Davis will just settle back in. Maybe they just missed on the tire pressure setup. As we said, the track's going to be a little bit different to yesterday morning, particularly when they qualified and put that car on the pole. Jan Halen's car is certainly struggling a little bit. You saw him through the S's there get a little bit wide, and Kenton Cook absolutely pounced there, and then there's a little moment that he gathered up as he went over the curbs. Robbie Foley needs to get the pressure on and get by that Porsche, because suddenly Bleekemolen's in the mix as well in that red Porsche.
Working through this very serpentine 12, 13, 14, and 15 complex, and then this is that triple apex right-hander, 16, 17, 18.
You can see the lean and the roll in the car going through there, which just absolutely tortures those left side tires at that point of the racetrack.
I'll tell you, Oberlin and Lee aren't exactly wasting time either. This could end up being a 6-7 car scrap here in very short order.
Well, I think Jan Halen maybe doesn't have the pace of the cars that are closely behind him, but you know he's a super aggressive competitor. He's not going to make it easy as we see double yellow flags waving.
Yeah,
full course yellow.
Full course. Not exactly sure. There comes the Acura NSX safety vehicle picking up new leader Hart in that 47 NOLA Sport car. Not sure why those cautions came out, unless there was too much debris in spots around the track that they, you don't want to be cutting tires. These Pirelli P0s are superb, but no tire can withstand getting sliced. And there you see some of that debris on track. It's just speculation on our part, but that's our guess. So this changes the dynamic, and for all those cars, 15 positions or so deep in the field that were lagging so bad on that pace lap, this is going to bring them at least back into the mix a little bit.
Calm their drivers down a little bit. I'm sure there was a lot of very frustrated drivers.
I would think.
Particularly guys like Michael Cooper didn't qualify well. He's like, what the heck? I'm suddenly 10 seconds back from the leader before I even start this race.
Well, we've been watching this just superb charge by Kenton Cook. He had qualified second, dropped back just a little bit, has fought his way back up. And the guy who is his co-driver, team owner, is a great story. He's with Ryan down in pit lane.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Brian Pudd joining me down here in the pit lane. They've been marveling at what Kenton's been able to do. Drop back a little bit at the start, but how about the moxie from your young co-driver, able to put the car back up to third?
Yeah, he's an animal. He's great to drive with. Excellent coach, excellent co-driver. At the start, he said before we got going, he said, I think I'm going to get swallowed up by some Porsches running up the front straight. So he anticipated it, but he's fighting hard to get back. And I think once he got back into third and with the yellow bunching us up, he'll have a good run at the two guys. So we'll see how it goes.
This program came together in time for the start of the season. You've been hard at work getting it ready. How much excitement is there now that this is really happening? Here you are, the first race weekend of your new team.
Yeah, to finally be here is really something special. It was a lot of work and a lot of effort over the winter. But when we finally pulled into the grid here and the vehicle was parked and the truck got unloaded, it was real. And it's a pretty good feeling. It's been a lifelong dream, so here we are, and we're pretty excited about it.
And the Aston's a really sharp-looking piece of kit as well. How fun has it been to get out on track in that? And this partnership that you built with Aston, how does that stack up to this point?
Yeah, they've been phenomenal. Aston's been great. The support's been really good. The car itself it's fast, it's solid, it's really predictable. It's a great driver's car for an AM. And obviously a pro can get out there and flog it pretty well and get good results. So no, we're really happy with Aston. They're a fantastic partner.
Well, the way this series works, you started the race yesterday. Now you get to bring it home. What goes through your mind right in those few moments before you jump in the car, knowing the end result, it all comes down to you at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that goes through my mind is just get through the process of getting in the car and don't screw the whole thing up. And then preserve whatever Kenton's handed us going into it. So it's really a function of going out, hitting my marks, and doing the best I can do, and trying to keep us where he puts us. So.
Thanks so much for the time, and good luck.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Lights out on the safety car. We are going back to green after just a bit of an opportunity to clean up some of the debris on the track. So it's going to be Jason Hart bringing them up. And the interesting thing is, I'm not sure what happened, but Davis has gone from second back to sixth at this stage. So we'll have to find out what happened there. But meanwhile, we are looking forward to going back to green. And again, Jan Halen super aggressive on the start. And Robbie Foley in that black Aston Martin going to try and get by Kenton Cook as well. And here comes Bleekemolen in the red Porsche.
Well, it's wide open here into the brake zone, but suddenly it's going to funnel down. Can they all play nice and get through this corner together? Foley, a big move there. He's up to third. Kenton Cook again drops a position here at the start.
Slots now into fourth spot. He's got Bleekemolen right behind him, then Davis, and then the rest of the field. But immediately, because of all that action, Hart gets at least 3 car lengths or such to have a little bit of a breather as they head into the S's.
Yeah, in that Nola Sport car, you can just see the platform just looks so stable as he starts to really lean on it through these S's compared to Jan Halen's car behind him. See what Davis can do in terms of recovering here. I'm not sure if he had some kind of technical issue that dropped him some positions there right before he went back to green. Bill Auberlen now starting to put the pressure on him as Jason Hart immediately gaps the rest of the pack. Halen has to go on defense to Robbie Foley.
Now, this is where Robbie can try to cut underneath, get to the power a little bit sooner, see if he's able to make it work. Kenton Cook going right with him at this stage. You see Siljahaug there in the number 71 crossbow, just at the tail end of this group. Right there, just comes into frame. Just got an update from the team. They said that contact, they said, we've got some damage on the car. He's just trying to hang on. And a tough way for him to get his first starting shot here in this championship. And look at that, Kenton Cook trying to defend, and Bleekum Mullen goes right around the outside.
Yeah, Porsche's really strong here at this circuit. Davis now looks to the inside. Nice move by Andrew Davis. Pretty tenacious driving there, but Kenton Cook comes back at him. That could just be the sweet spot, the gear ratio, and how they kind of have the torque coming through those corners, but certainly the Aston Martin had a bit of a go. Couldn't quite make it stick. Oberlin now feeling the heat from Andy Lee behind.
Boy, there's definitely some accordion going on, as you would expect, deeper in this group at the sharp end of the field. Oberlin now trying to recover. Look at the move by Siljahaug, just slices down underneath Andy Lee. Well, he's apparently figured a workaround on that damage issue, hasn't he?
Yeah, that was awesome, and that's what that car's all about. It's got to be a big smile underneath that helmet in terms of what that car will give him through the tight, twisty stuff. But then as he comes down the straight, got to be careful there. That was a little bit late in response. Well, they get a warning on that one.
Yeah, he's used to that European style of racing where you could be a little bit more aggressive in your defense. And so I'm sure they will be giving him a little bit of a warning. Now, we were wondering what happened with Andrew Davis when the caution came out. We had him in second. At the restart, he's 6th. Ryan, what are you hearing?
Yeah, well, let's check with James Sifronis, who owns the GMG team. What did you hear from Andrew? What caused him to fall back?
It looks like there was an intermittent power issue, and he had to recycle the car, and it looks like he's back up to speed. So, you know, Andrew had a nice run at the beginning, and we told him just set the pace, you know, don't slow each other down. This was unfortunate. We wanted him and Jason Hart to kind of work together to take off. So this was a little snag in the plans, but looks like he's regrouped, and he just needs to bring it in, hand it off to Jason Bell, let him do his thing.
With these intermittent issues, what is the level of concern that it could pop up again unexpectedly?
Well, we don't know. So, but it's a Porsche, so they're built fantastic. At this point, it looks like he's back up to speed, so we just got to keep pushing hard and do what we can.
Thanks, James.
Good company man there.
He is indeed.
We had a failure, but it's brilliant.
Long association with that brand, obviously. And here's now where Siljahaug is going to struggle a little bit, and sure enough, there goes Leia Fouge, and looks like Kozarov in that red and black Aston Martin from Reardon Racing is going to get underneath him. Now, Siljahaug had to give way here, but Leia Fouge in that orange and blue Stephen Cameron Racing BMW, again, last year's national champion in the series in this category in Pro-Am, starting to work his way to the front. But as you said, you know, no matter how well you BOP, there's still going to be certain tracks that a certain car is either better at or not quite as good at, and it looks like this is a track, as you said, suited to Porsches and the BMWs, maybe not so much.
Yeah, and it's horses for courses, so it's a championship season. You just have to try and be patient and maximize your scores. Don't overdrive it, don't get too aggressive, don't have contact, don't lose what points are available to you.
And dropping back a little bit, there's the number 17, Derek DeBoer, running 3rd in the AM category, chasing the number 14 of McGrath. That is a battle for position, leading the class right now. Once again, that number 7 NOLA Sport Porsche in the hands of Zach Anderson. The NOLA Sport just continuing. There is that car having an absolutely superb weekend. Down through turn 1 into turn 2 once again. Look at our leader in the AM category. I'll tell you, Zach Anderson is doing a really, really solid job for the team here. Got to be impressed. He's done a lot of coaching. He's done 17 years of racing, but mostly club racing. And this is one of his first few forays into the pro ranks. And you can see that he certainly deserves to be here.
Yeah, I think it's great. And for Sean Gibbons, it's a great teammate. Change of teams for Sean. It's the movers that gets pretty tight there through the S's. The Ginetta having a go at Zach.
Yeah, he went to Ginetta, and Warren Dexter just went right around the outside in those S's. And that's what you said. You can do that. This track is designed, and they're still side by side. Now we'll see what happens getting onto the straight, because looks like Zach squared up beautifully and got to the throttle a little bit, but those Ginettas are effective.
Welcome to your first pro weekend, Zach.
Exactly.
Yeah, got to be on your toes. He's doing an awesome job. As we see Andrew Davis now coming back at Robbie Foley, so it seems like that GMG Porsche has fixed whatever technical issue they had momentarily. So Andrew Davis back on the charge. He's going to try and get that Porsche as far up this field as he can before he turns it over to Jason Bell, who had a really stellar day yesterday.
Oh, look at Foley fight back here, but that's going to give Davis the inside here as they head into turn number 15, and he exits it and hangs on to that position, but Foley being uber aggressive, and right behind him, Kenton Cook in an Aston Martin also is going, all right, where is this thing working where I can maybe make some attacks here? But Davis looks like he's got that spot, at least for now.
Yeah, and I think for these drivers right now, we're getting ever closer to that pit stop window that opens up with 35 minutes to go on the clock. You see it at 40 plus right now. So as long as they're in sight with the leaders, then try and get your team to execute on pit lane. So yes, you want the track position. You'd love to be leading, but you want to be close to the leaders. So if you can gain a few seconds on pit lane, maybe that can jump you up the field.
Once again, now we watch Jan Halen getting a bit defensive. In a clean way. He had moved first, but he knew Bleekemolen was going to be taking a look at him. This is going to be an interesting study, isn't it? These are the two cars that are the older variant of the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport, and they found each other on the track.
Yeah, as we've said, it's certainly a track that really suits the Porsche. They run 1 through 4 right now, but you can see the Aston Martins there very much in the mix. Aublin, the first non-Porsche, first non-Aston Martin in the field, runs in 7th. Andy Lee in the Audi in 8th.
Fast lap in the race thus far is Hart's at that 2:16 flat, essentially. And he's got a margin of 1.3 seconds to Halen. Halen's got company, as we talked about, Bleekemolen right behind him, then a little gap to Davis.
Jason Hart continues to stretch that gap. He's not running as fast as lap. He's still running the laps, clicking them off in the high 2:16 range. Everyone else in the low 17s to 18. So if he can continue to do this, and then pick his moment for that pit stop, which will be opening up pretty early. It's not necessarily the leader who will pit first, as whenever the clock gets to that 35-minute mark, anyone is entitled to hit pit lane.
And the general strategy call is since it's the pros in the Pro-Am category that have started this, you would expect them to stay in the car a little bit longer here. And we'll see how that plays out now in the silver and in the AM classes. Whole different strategy. You can do whatever you want, really.
Yeah, if you've got two evenly matched drivers, you just try and kind of pick where you come out in traffic and things like that. They have software available to them, which will kind of create a ghost car as to when they'll come out and where they'll come out in traffic with the minimum pit stop time, which is 80 seconds you have to spend on pit lane itself, including the service. Service really for these cars is just driver change, maybe a tire pressure adjustment. There's no mandatory tire change like we have in the GT competition here this weekend.
I do want to point out that even though Siljehaug obviously struggling just a little bit in terms of running with these top 10 Pro-Am guys, he is leading in the silver category over Andretti and the number 28 ST Racing BMW of Harry Gottsacker. So he's got a good run going here. Just needs to keep being mindful. But as we said, that's when you get into that traffic, that's the kind of thing that can happen. And once those two cars went by, this is a concern now for Siljehaug, because now you've got Andretti and Gottsacker right behind you.
That was really tight there. Yes. Pumpelly made the move on the crossbow, and he thought about going down to the inside of Kozarov. Kozarov didn't give him much room. It was good hard racing, and suddenly Spencer had to be all up and over the curb there in the apex of one. Just really good experience there behind the wheel, making the right choice. Otherwise, he would have turned to Aston Martin around, possible penalty for that. But because of that, allows Siljehaug to come back at him and now accelerating down the hill.
And that gives Siljehaug that at least one car buffer back to the people he's racing in class, being Andretti and that BMW with that psychedelic looking, really pretty graphics package. That's the ST Racing, the entry in the hands of Harry Gottsacker right now, who's doing just a superb job, the GPI Biotech machine.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool livery they have on both the ST Racing machines. It's kind of the Van Gogh Moon and Stars livery look by Toronto artists. So pretty cool stuff. Everyone's loving that livery here this year in the paddock.
Here is that battle, and as you can see, once again, Siljehaug, as Spencer is able to get him, Spencer thought about going after Kozarov, couldn't get it done, but now right behind Siljehaug is Andretti, and that is the battle for the lead in the silver class right now. The KTM crossbow and the McLaren.
See Kozarov there just a little bit deeper on the brakes, but that then meant that he went through that corner with a little bit too much speed. Pumpelly trying to get through there, but Kozarov is on the defense right now. Spencer very in tune with that, and he's not making the abrupt move where there may be contact. So just trying to be patient here at this stage of the game.
Well, Spencer used that same move to great effect in the sprint race yesterday on the final lap to make a move. And now Ciliag trying to come right back after him and give him that buffer. This is just absolutely fascinating chess match, isn't it, between people in different classes but drivers of the same caliber. This is great stuff.
It is, because all of these cars have a slightly different dynamic in terms of where the pros and cons are in terms of the speed. So it really makes for an interesting mix there. As you can see, Spencer once again, a little bit more top speed. Mads all the way down the inside, deep on the brakes, almost contact there. And Spencer just clears him. You see Jared Andretti there in the Andretti Autosport team. They're going for their second victory of the weekend here in the silver class. So he's going to try and do everything he can to get around that crossbow. That's for position in class.
And Ciliag was doing everything he could to try and get back around Spencer and get that buffer, because if he doesn't have that car buffer by the time they get out of turn 11 here, he's a bit in trouble. And here he comes, working the outside. That car sticks. A little bit too wide there, and that gives Andretti an opportunity. Has to tuck back in. This is up through the sweeper in turn 10. The Ginetta now coming after Gottsacker in that beautiful BMW.
Just awesome racing. So many manufacturers involved here. But up front, Jason Hart continues to stretch this gap. It's about 2.5 seconds right now as Bleekemolen is starting to put the pressure. So it's Holland against Belgium for the second position right now.
And Ken Cook has gone around Foley, so he's now the top Aston Martin and will be running in 5th.
Bleekemolen's car seems to be hooked up a little bit better through this section, but just being super patient here.
He rolled some speed there, but there's nothing he can do with it.
As you said, it's a super chess match here around this racetrack because there are multiple lines that you can run. So it's just trying to be half a step ahead of your competitor.
When you know the guy behind you might have a little bit better pace, a lot of your mindset, isn't it, is you want to put your car exiting corners in particular right where you think that guy might be trying to make a move.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Halen did there through turn 15, that tight one, because certainly Bleekemolen is able to roll a little bit more apex speed than the Porsche in front of him right now, but he's nowhere to go with it.
And behind them, just a little back is Davis, then Cook and Foley. Two Aston Martins, and the big gap back now to Oberlin, who has been able to get around Andy Lee.
See, pit stop window is open, but as you mentioned, Greg, you're going to try and keep your pros in as long as you can so they can stay out there for another 7 minutes. But what's nice is if you have a nice even driver pairing like the Andretti Autosport team does, they can take that opportunity. They're stuck in traffic, try and get that car in, execute, and then hopefully with these guys fighting, you may be able to leap up the order a little bit.
Meanwhile, this great battle continues here, and looks like Davis is starting to close it back up again just a little bit, Cal.
Yeah,
As I say that, he doesn't get through that complex quite as well.
Well, he's got 7 minutes to work with. We see Kozarov now. He's got a flat right rear, I believe. Certainly he was in close proximity in some tight battles, so may have cut down the right rear on the Aston Martin.
Yeah, he has definitely been in some scraps and has now maybe suffered the consequences. Bleekemolen getting a nice run, exiting turn 11. This is a position battle right at the sharp end of things. Oh, there was the contact. He and Pumpelly.
Yeah, just zigging and zagging up into that brake zone, and unfortunately they both went in the same place on the racetrack at the same time. I'm not sure if it was anyone's real fault. Steers will take another look at it, but I certainly won't put any blame on Spencer's door for that one.
No. Now Davis is starting to take a serious run again, isn't it? Goes right back in.
He's got pace. He's had it from the moment qualifying started here yesterday. Certainly the NOLA Sport team has got tremendous race car here this weekend as Jason Hart continues to lead and maintains now a 3+ second lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, to the people they're battling, Andretti and Colin Mullen and that Andretti Autosport team have thrown down the pit stop gauntlet. 0.3 of a second over the minimum. That's about as perfect an execution as you can get.
It really is. You do have the 1 second joker. You can play with that a little bit. If you didn't use it yesterday, you're only allowed one per weekend, so one between the two races up to a second underneath that minimum time of 80 seconds. So If you want to fine tune it, and if you're in a battle like this, that could be the difference for position when you all exit pit lane.
If you're that good with it and you end up, your competitors are off by 2-3 seconds, that could be mega. And pit stops were fairly erratic yesterday in terms of some of the times. First race, you might expect that. So to execute like that, that really bodes well, I think.
It does, and for all the teams in the off-season, you discuss everything, but until you're in the heat of the battle and you have to execute, sometimes it can go wrong.
Boy, and as I say, the Davis is closed up in the back of these guys. He's dropped off a bit, and Kent Cook is all over the back of Davis in that blue and black GMG Asteria Frost New York City machine. What a good scrap this is by two mighty talented guys.
It is, and when you got someone like Bleekemolen with a slightly faster race car, it seems to be, certainly through the handling section, Jan Halen just doing a tremendous job. He's a feisty, really quick driver. See a little bit of debris there right in the middle of the road, so drivers need to observe that, because if you suddenly pop out, you could be running over that. Not sure if that's from Kozarov's car. Looks like there's rubber that's down on the racetrack with maybe a cut tire.
So up front, as we would expect, the top group of cars, yeah, it is. There's Kozarov. He's just limping around trying to get back into pit lane. And you do get a tire that you are allowed to use if you can show the tire techs that it's not a safe tire. Well, when you got one cut like that, they're going to let you get an extra tire on that car, but he's losing so much time now.
Yeah, there's a rule in place that throughout the course of the weekend, so from qualifying to the race, if you can demonstrate that the tire's been damaged, you are allowed to change it. Obviously, in race conditions, you get a flat tire or something like that, there's no real penalty involved, and as carte blanche there, as we now see Jan Halen make the move to pit lane. Certainly could get one more lap, probably not two, before making that move, so feeling the pressure there. Davis follows him in. Now it's all down to the crews to execute. There should be plenty of time to get this driver change done. Any slight tire pressure adjustment. It's all about execution on the stopwatches to when the engineer releases the car is the key.
And I'll tell you, the guy that Jan's going to be turning over to, Charlie Belluardo, the only race that he's done really in pro racing was at the Glen last year in this category. He showed really stout pace, and he did it yesterday as well. So they're in play here for sure. And Davis in, and here we go. Foley in, turning over to Michael Dinan, who was mighty impressive yesterday.
Really was. Did a last lap pass for the win here yesterday in the Sprint AM class. He was very excited. He will have had a great night. Hopefully he didn't celebrate too much, and he's ready to go this morning.
Keeping an eye on the clock here for the change. It's so crucial. Andy Lee has stayed out, trying to make up a little bit of track distance, I think. Is that Cooper in? It is. Erin Vogel, first full season of racing for Erin. She's done some really impressive testing and has done some really stout club racing as well.
This team bouncing back. They had a right front go down earlier in this race, so Michael had to make an unscheduled pit stop to change that. It may have been from contact with Andretti. I'm not sure. They were certainly in close proximity about the time of his pit stop.
Just keeping an eye on how things are going in the pit swings right now.
Well, certainly a great rebound for the Crossbow number 71 team, Marco Polo, because they did a 79.1, which is okay. It's not over a second quicker. They certainly had plenty of time to burn from yesterday, where they lost about 20 seconds with the issues.
Well, I'll tell you, Bill Auberland, the change to James Walker, 10 seconds off, and Walker just exiting the pits. Looked like the car well past pit exit was still at pit speed, so they may have some sort of a technical issue at this point.
Here comes Bleekemolen. Be turning it over to Tim Pappas. Great to see Tim back racing full-time this year. Had a massive accident at Bathurst, and here comes our leader, Jason Hart. Another superb performance by him. Even though he had a different mindset about how aggressive he was going to be at the start of this race, he certainly threw that out the window once the green flag flew. Matt Travis going to jump in, see if this team can go 4 straight wins here at Cota.
Yeah, they have just owned this place. Kenton Cook in as well, so we'll be turning over to Brian Putt. Zach Anderson in from the lead in the AM class in the number 7 NOLA Sport car. Be turning over to Sean Gibbons. So Looks like everybody has now made their call to the pits, and you had better be doing it at this point, because if you wait too long, and then we've said this before, there's a caution of some sort or whatever, you can run afoul of that window, and you don't want to do that. So
Nice run there by Andy Lee in the 5-on-1 Audi with GMG. Elias Sabo now jumping in.
And there goes Matt Travis, and we've said it many times, when the car sits for a little bit, that's a really good sign, and Travis was waiting for a while. That team executes. Looking at the times here, it's going to be really interesting, because remember, Andretti pitted really early.
Hard to Travis, 81.1, so that's a nice stop. That's about the margin you want to do, particularly when you have the lead of the race. Don't try and cut it so fine you risk a penalty.
Right.
Just execute and do a nice solid stop. They did that.
Long stop for Bleekemolen going to Pappas. He just now comes out and is behind Jason Bell, who's taken over for Davis in that #2 Porsche. And right now under attack immediately. Pappas is going to be from Charlie Belluardo, and we talked about the speed we've seen from Charlie, but of course Tim really experienced as well. Charlie, that's got to be a little careful there. That was well inside the curbs and not in a part of the track where they're generally willing to give it to you a little bit.
Yeah, that Bleekemolen and Pappas pit stop 9 seconds outside the minimum, so he's going to be fighting. You see Tim up on the wheel early, done a nice job, and has kind of gotten away from Charlie there within a few corners.
Jason Bell, the one in front of them that they're going to be going after. These are all positions. There's Brian Putt. They had a nice stop. Brian Putt and Ken Cook. It's their first race as a team, obviously, and they just knocked a stop at 1.6 seconds longer than the minimum. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, that's nice. And it's a new team, so lots to get your head around when you're putting a group of people together for the first time on a race weekend.
Unfortunately, Foley to Dynan, not so good, Cal. Almost 8 seconds over the minimum. That's just so costly.
It is, and I would say that's not so much executing the stopwatches, maybe some kind of snafu on the driver change itself. Oh, quick spin there. Jason. Yeah. That's a disappointment. He had a great run going here in the sprint race here yesterday, up in the podium spot, and had a little spin that cost him that podium position. So just needs to settle things down a little bit, because he's certainly shown tremendous pace here this weekend. Let's take a look at it.
Right in front. Yep, just maybe went to throttle a little bit too much, or carried a little bit too much speed into 13-14.
Such a technical area of the racetrack. The more you try and the harder you push, you can lose time and certainly lose the car as well. So again, the tires should be up to temp. They're the same tires everyone started on, so that's not so much a cold tire issue, it's just pushing things a little bit too much, it seems.
You don't hear the phrase that often anymore, but for Jason Bell, that may well have been the old cliche trailing throttle oversteer. If you went in quick and just breathed it, was on that edge, and that weight goes forward. Oh, problem for Pappas.
The car just suddenly shuts down.
Oh, boy. He had a tremendous run going. This is one of those throw it neutral, try and recycle probably, huh? Still not able to get back up to speed. Oh, my goodness, they had such a good run going. Now he stopped. Let's see if he can.
It's just the camera angle. There's some excessive camber in that left side, maybe not. Up front.
Yeah, exactly. Travis, it's almost like they just expect to be here at this track, isn't it?
Yes, and you know, they would certainly have reflected on what seemed to be an awesome season. It certainly was. I mean, they won 7 races on the year, 5 on the bounce to start the year, and they had to feel at that point the championship was theirs, but then they had a few dramas in the summer, and certainly the Steve Cameron Racing BMW of Greg Leofouge and Sean Quinlan came back at them to nip them for the title. But this year, I'm sure it's inspired them to try and execute everything at the highest level, and they're certainly doing a great job of getting their championship season off in the right way.
Yeah, their margin right now back to second place, Brian Putt, some 10 seconds, so that played out absolutely beautifully. Then it's Pappas, of course, but now struggling, so Belluardo will move to third, Dynan to fourth. Bell with his spin was able to recover fairly quickly. He still sits in the 5th spot. Watching the battles unfold here, just want to update everybody. Nick Whitmer right now sits in would be the 6th spot overall, but leading in the silver category in the number 28 ST Racing GPI Biotech entry that he runs with Harry Gottsacker. In front of the number 36 now of Colin Mullen, that's the Andretti Autosport McLaren, and Nikolai Elganian, who has taken over in the 71 Crossbow. So that would be the top 3 in your silver category. And looking for the AM leader still is Sean Gibbons in that number 7 NOLA Sport machine. So NOLA Sport continues to just absolutely be on form this weekend. All right, Pappas has been able to get it going again, but has lost a huge amount of time, obviously, as a result. It really takes them out of the window at this stage. Dynan has now slipped around Belluardo and has picked up the 3rd spot. So it's Matt Travis, Brian Putt, and Dynan. There's Jason Bell having recovered now with the McLaren of Mullen right behind him, as we are now under 20 minutes to go in this round 2 of the championship. Mullen going to try and go right around the outside. Boy, did he float some speed, Gal.
He really did, and the car was underneath him, and now here comes Elganian, a brilliant move there. Takes advantage of that move that Colin Mullen was putting on Jason Bell to pounce and take 2 positions in 1 move.
That's what you got to do when you're in the part of the track where that crossbow is in its sweet spot and can flow speed. You got to do it, but now this long run, let's see what happens there. But boy, I think Nikolai is happy to be back racing.
Yeah, he certainly is. It's a tough second half to the year after that shoulder injury.
Absolutely, as we continue to watch this little scrap, and here we go. Here comes Mullen now. But look at how deep Elganian is willing to go. Finally had to give it up and tuck back in behind. Wanted to try and slice underneath. Couldn't make that happen, so it was stymied just a little bit. We've been talking about just how good things are going for NOLA Sport, for Jason Hart. Ryan, what a stint.
No kidding. An excellent opening stint for Jason Hart. You told Calvin apparently you were going to take it easy, but it looked pretty aggressive to us. Was it under control from where you were sitting?
It was pretty under control, and I got to give all the thanks to Scott, our engineer. I don't talk about him much because he's kind of a quiet guy, but to drive for him is such a blessing. I mean, our car was so good. I mean, they worked on it every session, but the car was just that good. And I give it all to Scott and the team, how precise they are in the setup. That was the best car we had all weekend for the Sunday race, right on.
Well, to that point, the car was awfully good here a year ago, but the track has changed, conditions are different, the tire is different. Were you confident that it would be kind of rinse and repeat from a year ago to this year with so many changes?
Not at all, not even a little bit. We tested here 2 weeks ago, and we knew it was going to be a lot of work to get the car balance and the brake balance right. If you look at the timesheets from practice, we were junk. We were working very, very hard, very, very hard. And, you know, Scott just always has a way with this team being so precise on the setup pad to just find it when we need it. Qualifying, first race was good. This race, it was phenomenal. I mean, that was one of the best race cars I've ever driven. Unbelievable.
Good job. Congratulations so far. We'll hopefully see you here in a couple minutes.
Thank you. See how it goes.
Well, that tells you a little something about that NOLA Sport program, doesn't it? To have him talk about where they started and where they ended up with a race car today is really impressive.
It is, and you need confidence in your engineer to make a big change to the setup. So when you've got a race-winning car and the engineer says, I want to change it and make it better, that's like, whoa, hang on, we just beat everyone. What are we doing here? But they made the car better, and certainly Jason Hart and Matt Travis have demonstrated that here this morning.
Travis up by 12 seconds now on Dynan. A lot closer, though. Dynan back to Belluardo. Putt, they're all in it. Whitmer, as you might expect, he is so fast. He actually, we're talking about Nick Whitmer in the number 28 ST Racing entries. We watched this battle continue between number 5 Jason Bell, or the 2 of Jason Bell sitting 5th at Pro-Am, and Ben Anderson in that number 63 DEXTER Racing Ginetta. And this little scrap here is now Matt Fosnot has run down Sean Quinlan. And this is going to be a good little scrap here for 7th in the Pro-Am category. Fosnot trying to crack the top 10. We're not really used to seeing that car out of the top 10 very often.
No, had a moment in qualifying, then Matt got into it yesterday early in the race, so trying to rebound here and get some points on the board. There's such a strong driver pairing. We see the Ginetta and Jason Bell close together here, and the 63 makes the move with Anderson.
That'll put him up at the 8th overall and 5th in the Pro-Am category.
Jason coming back at him, up into the brake zone, going to be tight. He's got that outside line. If he can time it here and just try and swing through apex with speed, but he's a little bit too far behind to take advantage on the run off of turn 1.
And that corner, and same with 11, is so wide that sometimes you think, oh, I'm going to stay way off to the right, square up and come underneath. But what you've essentially done is you've added an awful lot of distance to the racetrack in your turn in, and as a result, you might get a good run, but you're just too far back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the timing of it all. I mean, you really want to just come through that corner so you can just roll just a little bit more apex speed and maybe take advantage on the run down to turn 2.
It's a much trickier corner than you might think when you just look at it. You've got the elevation change, obviously, but you're still on the brakes and it flattens out as you need to be getting ready to turn to the apex. So if you stay in the brake too late, you lock up. If you come off too early, you overshoot. I mean, it's a challenging corner. Herman Tilke must have been licking his chops when he designed that one.
Yeah, well, if you come off the brake and then you ask the car to do a lot of turn, you've already taken the weight off the nose of the car, so that'll just induce some understeer as you come through the critical part of turning the car. So it's all about the sweet spot and just the timing with your feet. I mean, it's a real dance up there into turn 1.
Back to this little battle here, and this is two awfully intense drivers, no question about it, as Fosnot on Quinlan raced each other a lot last year and found each other on the racetrack once again. Great battle here for the final spot in the top 10, occupied right now by number 19 Sean Quinlan in the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW, but Matt Fosnot in the Murillo Racing Mercedes AMG GT4.
This is the backup car because of that incident yesterday.
Yeah.
Murillo Racing had to switch to the backup car, so Shimshak started dead last, so it's still a strong run for these guys to get the car knocking on the door of the top 10.
Yeah, yesterday was an interesting day for that orange Mercedes. You think about, oh, and he got a nice run to the inside. That was really sweet. Came out of 18, set him up for the exit at 19, got right to the inside. Fosnot is through and now into the top 10, but it was a pretty interesting day for that the original car. You remember that qualifying hit when it absolutely slammed the barriers, the Armco, but did it side to side, and there was virtually no damage. How they got away with that?
Yeah, amazing pieces of video. He smashes the barriers up on 2 wheels. You thought, well, that's tore the right side out of the race car, and he drove off and finished qualifying.
Competitively, yeah, that was the thing. Then the contact in the race that forced him to go to the backup. Here is this little scrap here. Whitmer has run down Belluardo now. This is not for the same class, but it is for the overall podium. And Nick Whitmer, he was wickedly fast yesterday, but he kept having, in qualifying, but he kept having issues running outside of the track limits and kept getting times taken away. And but he had tremendous speed. He's run down Belluardo. This is for 3rd overall.
Belluardo's done a really nice job, really impressed with his performance here. He's not sort of like succumbing to the pressure from a much more experienced driver behind him. Doing a really solid job, but under the tutelage of Jan Halen. This is a car that actually started the race on their qualifying tires. They had 4 sets of tires to work with this weekend, and different strategies evolved with these GT4 teams and how they would use them. And ultimately with this RS1 team, as you see Whitmer now dives to the inside. Can he make it stick?
Oh, side by side through this tricky complex of corners. And that may have been that little bit of inexperience by Charlie Belluardo. We talked about only his 2nd race, and like you said, just left that door a little bit too open.
He did, but then was pretty savvy there and not getting too aggressive and risking what is still a really strong performance here today and putting some strong points to start this championship season on the board.
And as we watch this battle now with Whitmer up into 3rd, the next guy he'd need to chase down, but he's got a lot of distance to do it, would be Michael Dinan in the number 21 Flying Lizard. Aston Martin, it's still difficult to say that one and have it flow comfortably, Ryan.
Yeah, you're telling me, but we'll get used to it, I'm pretty sure, especially if they keep having runs like this. Michael running with a lot of momentum right now, coming off of that sprint win yesterday. His co-driver and coach is Robbie Foley. Let's talk about Michael and how he's developed. You've been working with him for a while and really came into his own, it seemed, in race 1 of the sprint championship yesterday.
Yeah, I've been working with him for a few years, and to see where he's come in a very short time is quite impressive. He's always had natural speed, but he's learning the racecraft as he goes. So our goal today was get a clean start, keep it in the top 5. I attacked on the restart a little bit, didn't want to ruin the tires for him, so I conserved a little bit. And yeah, he's doing a great job now. Hopefully he's got a good car under him. We're running P2 overall, slowly maybe catching the leader, but the goal is to just not make any mistakes, and he's doing just that. Last year, he had a few, rookie mistakes, and this year he's kind of ironed it out. So it's really impressive to see, and I'm super proud of him.
Well, as his coach, how do you not let his win yesterday get to his head? He's got business to attend to today.
Yeah, for sure. It's always good to enjoy. A win doesn't come every day, so yeah, we enjoyed last night a little bit, but also, have to be ready for it today, and I think he'll enjoy a bit more tonight. It's a big weekend for him, a milestone for sure.
And quickly back to your stint, it seemed like you were in the middle of everything. Was that fun, scary, both?
Yeah, it was fun. Just tried to keep it clean, some hard racing, but it's a long race, and I didn't want to be short-sighted in the moment, so just, pretty conservative approach, and just give him a good car that he can take to the end.
Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you.
Yeah, Robbie has just been so impressive, particularly in the last couple of years here. It's really come up. Oh, look at this move. Beautiful late move by Elganian, and that's where that car is so good, and it got Brian Putt offline just enough that Ben Anderson was able to slice through and pick up a spot as well. So unfortunately for Brian Putt, he's dropping back just a little bit at this stage.
He's got a technical issue. Yeah. So he doesn't seem to be able to hang with these guys right now, so maybe he's fighting something in the race car.
Yeah, he just looks slow right there, doesn't he? He started this lap 5th overall, and now he's back going to be in 9th, 10th in that area, so he's got to have something that's gone a little off.
Yeah, because Colin Mullen, who just flashes through the screen there, was behind him starting this lap, and now they're almost in a different zip code, so see what happens here. Well, that Ginetta is super strong there, looks to the inside. Wow, that was a nice move.
Yeah, that was something. And these two cars, remarkably similar in a lot of ways in their performance, because they're both, from that school of lower horsepower, but lighter and nimble. And it's the Ford V6 engine in that Ginetta and a little 2-liter turbo Audi engine. Oh, and Ben gets it all crossed up, snap sideways again. And Elganian was pretty wise there to have given him a little bit of room at the exit of 1, because that second move by Anderson when the car stepped out, that could have been a bit disastrous.
Yeah, he was definitely fighting it through that corner. That is for sure. And Nikolai is probably thinking, what's this? I'm as fast as another car down the straightaway. That's a little bit different from the normal dynamic, but.
And that car is as fast as me in the twisty bits. This is not right.
Yeah, and got broken there into turn 20 for that pass. So that's the great thing. It's such a melting pot of machinery here in GT4 competition.
That's a good scrap, and it is for 4th right now. Well, 6th overall. It's 2 different classes, but it's still an absolutely great battle. All right, and I wonder, Cal, we had that semi-quiet moment on the microphone and our camera out there. It sounds like maybe the engine in that Aston Martin for the B Sport entry of Brian Putt is off song just a little bit. All right, here we go, rinse and repeat, but Nikolai going in a little deeper this time. Anderson still gets inside. Boy, that's good respect, isn't it?
It really is, and then you'll see a bit of an ebb and flow. Sometimes that's just the different gear ratio that the individual cars have in terms of being in the sweet spot of the torque setting. See that Ginetta really sliding around. Anderson's having fun out there. This is a great scrap. 6 minutes to go.
And again, Anderson running in the Pro-Am category with his driver. Oh, that is, it's one of the Porsches. Can't really catch the number. It's got a NOLA Sport look to it, but
I think it might be the 46 car, possibly.
Yeah, you could be right. It has gone behind the barriers at this stage. Yeah, it's Austin Smith. I saw the Smith on the roof, so that's Austin Smith and John Capastro Dubé, the third of the NOLA Sport cars. Looks like their day might be done at this stage, obviously. There is the car leading in the AM category once again. Sean Gibbons having taken over from the very impressive Zach Anderson. Continues to hold sway at the top of the AM class, 15th overall right now.
Comes Tim Barber down at the inside of Sabo into the brake zone for turn 20. Watch Sean Gibbons here. He may be able to take advantage of this little battle and now accelerate these guys up this front stretch.
Sabo in that 511 tactical Audi from GMG was able to get to the trigger pretty well and gave himself a little bit of breathing room, but now in braking, ooh, look at this. Sabo way down to the inside. The problem is, can he hang it on the exit? And that's exactly what happens.
I think he may have been looking in his mirrors there at Sean Gibbons in that bright yellow car, certainly distracting as Sabo now gathers it back up after that little moment up into turn 1.
Boy, and flying now up and around the outside is the other of the Global Motorsports Group entries right now, and that's Alex Welch, former champion in this Pro-Am category when he was teamed with James Safronis. So GMG working each other over, and Welch just carried a huge head of steam. He was able to slice through on Sabo.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about this racetrack. He had that head of steam and had somewhere to go with it. I mean, he used a lot of the track limits there to make the move, but wait and see how the stewards view that one. Pappas in a battle here. There's Radisic. Marco coming off a busy off-season where he maintains a world record for 24 hours of karting solo.
Yeah, how much of an animal do you have to be to do that?
I don't know. I'm not sure why you put yourself through that, but certainly he enjoys it.
Yeah, and he set the record last year. He did it.
He said it was
and then
this
decided
year. It's wet and cold, and there's no relief. It's not like you can jump out and throw the suit in the dryer.
And he said for all the physical challenges of driving a go-kart for 24 hours, he said nothing compared to the mental challenges. And when he decided to do it again, he said that was the big thing to try and overcome was, you know, those mental stresses. And I mean, it's impressive what he did, but you just have to ask that question when you already own the record. Why?
Like moving house. I never want to do this again. We look at Dynan. What a weekend for him, grabbing that sprint victory yesterday in the AM class, and now looking at a really strong podium run for he and Robbie Foley. I think they're loving life with this new Aston Martin, the move over to this car for this year. As we've talked about, Greg, a lot of momentum shift between the manufacturers to Aston Martin, between the teams for this year.
Well, and Dynan said in the interview at the end of the race during the Sprint X race yesterday, when Ryan talked to him, he said they went in the off-season, he, Flying Lizard, and Robbie Foley went and tested a variety of different cars and said that this is the one that just really suited my driving style. Robbie really liked it as well, and he said we just decided this was the platform we wanted to move with, and it's proven clearly to be the right choice. Now, the question is, we're only 2 minutes left in this race. Whitmer has been throwing down some really quick laps and has trimmed 3 seconds off of Dynan's margin here. And that would be for the overall podium. It's a different class. So even if Whitmer were to get through, Dynan would still be second in the Pro-Am category. But it looks like Dynan is going to have enough in hand, because we anticipate this should be a white flag flying right now for our overall leader in Pro-Am, Matt Travis, in the number 47 NOLA Sport machine, starting his final lap.
And his interviews are always fun, so we should be talking to him at the end of this one, see what he comes up with today.
That is true. There goes Dynan. Here comes Whitmer. What a charge through the field for Whitmer.
This is a battle for the AM win right here. Welch has caught Gibbons, so that pass that he put on his teammate was significant, has allowed Alex Welch to really close the gap to our leader here. Wow, Sean Gibbons is going to have to resist this charge. He's got a lap and a half to do it, so the leaders start the final lap, but certainly these guys got to finish this one plus one more. Right now, Welch seems to have the speed possibly to try and make the move. He's just got to be patient with it.
This is going to be all about car placement for Gibbons, and I think trying to figure where he can slice through for Welch. Just just to finish that point on Whitmer, he and Gottsacker started 18th today.
Welsh peeks to the inside, thinks better of it. Maybe distracted Gibbons enough there at apex. It's going to be a battle up into that brake zone for turn 1. Porsche versus Audi here for the win in the AM class.
And Sabo still sitting there right behind them. You can see him when we look at that long shot. Meanwhile, we are watching Matt Travis now making his way down this long back straight, heading to turn 12. You see the 001 flashing on the Lumarank. That is reserved, the flashing number reserved for the overall race leader. Here's Dynan, that's the margin.
I think Travis may have backed off a little bit on this final lap. Possibly that gap looks a little bit closer. I don't think he's in trouble. He's just managing it. Whitmer, great charge once again, but he'll win the silver class here this morning. But an overall podium is a great result, but he will not catch Dynan, I don't think, to the flag.
Yeah, Gottsacker did a great job in his stint to move him up from that deep starting spot. And then Nick doing his magic as well. Here we go. Matt Travis, they call him the world's fastest accountant in the NOLA Sport deal, a true AM, but he's one of those AMs with real true speed as well. And for the second straight day and for the fourth straight time, NOLA Sport, Porsche, Travis and Hart win at Circuit of the Americas. They have been absolutely remarkable. Here comes Dynan, and continuing a stunning weekend for Michael Dynan and Flying Lizard in the Aston Martin, and a charge from deep in the field for Gottsacker and Whitmer as they bring that ST Racing GPI Biotech BMW through into third. So Porsche, Aston Martin, BMW, then guess what? Fourth overall, McLaren.
This battle is not finished, though. It's the battle for the AM win. Sean Gibbons hanging on. He's got 5 corners to try and keep that Audi of Alex Welsh behind him.
Oh, man, Welch is tenacious. He's going to do everything he can.
He floats speed through there. Final opportunity to be the brake zone for turn 20. Gibbons does not get through 19 quickly. Here comes Alex Welsh. Gibbons to the middle of the road.
That was perfect judgment by Gibbons, but now it's the exit. It's going to be a drag race, but it's a short run, and NOLA Sport repeats in AM as well with an absolutely superb drive under huge pressure by Sean Gibbons. That was tremendous.
Awesome couple of laps there for the win in AM. Congratulations, Sean Gibbons, NOLA Sport. What a day, what a weekend.
Absolutely incredible runs for NOLA Sport, again sweeping 2 classes. Yeah, you're right, Calvin. He did not get that great run out of 19, but boy, he put the car in absolutely the perfect spot, didn't he?
Yeah, it would have taken huge commitment by Alex Welsh to dive down the inside, and Alex is pretty smart and savvy. He's thinking of the big picture and the championship. Didn't want to risk it all for just a few points. So just great race here this morning. What a way to start the day.
It really was. And then you take a look here. Obviously, we'll take a look at all the results here, but Mullen, 4th overall, 2nd in silver. Charlie Belluardo hanging on with a 3rd place in Pro-Am and only his 2nd pro race. It's just stellar stuff.
It really is. That was a brilliant performance by the whole team. They started the race on qualifying tires. We looked again, Halen struggling a little bit compared to some of the others. That could have just been the delta in tires.
You take a look here at the results, and then Elganian and Siljahaug ending up 3rd in the silver category, but DEXTER and Anderson and the Janetta able to get them in the overall for that 6th spot, but still. And then Brian Putt, his first race in GT4, well, 2nd race, first event in the GT4 category, putting himself really well. He and Ken Cook up into 5th in the Pro-Am category. But you know, there's a lot of jokes made about in the drivers' meetings about nobody owns a corner here unless you produce a deed. But I think NOLA Sport owns this track, especially in GT4. You just can't deny that.
No, and they continue to make their car better. So everyone running a different tire for this year. So there's a little bit of a learning process with the new Pirelli, but tires have worked really well this weekend. The consistency of the lap times was remarkable. The lap times that everyone was able to turn late in this green flag run. They stay on the same set of tires for the 60-minute event, so really a testimony to that performance.
Into the pit lane they come. And we can't wait to hear from our winners. Certainly Matt Travis is always an entertaining interview, that's for sure. And Jason Hart, as he said, boy, he said the crew just kept massaging on this car, and for the final race of the weekend turned it into sheer magic, and it showed.
It certainly does, and the accountant can cash the check again, it looks like.
Yeah. Takes a while to get the helmet off and everything, but there's the celebration there as well. And again, just a great run for ST Racing and Harry Gottsacker doing a superb job, starting from well back in the field. But right now, it's all about the overall win. Ryan?
Congratulations, guys. Once again, it is NOLA Sport on top in Pirelli GT4 America. Sprint X here at Circuit of the Americas. Matt Travis, whatever it is, the secret stuff that you guys have here, if you could bottle it, I think there's 20 other teams up and down pit lane who would pay good money for it. Well done.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, you know, the secret is the whole package, right? We've got a great team, a great crew, great engineer. It's a great program. I'm just thankful to be a part of it. Man, what a weekend, especially this close to home.
Jason said he may never have driven a car as hooked up as this one. Did it feel that way to you?
It was really, really a good car. Obviously, the tires went away at the end of the stint. I think everybody was struggling with the same thing, but man, what an amazing race car. I can't thank the guys enough.
As we learned last year, one weekend does not a season make, but still a picture-perfect start to the year. Congratulations.
Thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it. And now we just got to see if we can bring the season home. Praying to 8-pound, 5-ounce tiny baby Jesus.
He always throws in some reference, and it is absolutely hilarious. And look at this. There is, for the second straight day, Sean Gibbons out of that NOLA Sport entry, as they too swept their class. And a big, big day, big, big weekend for NOLA Sport. Just going from strength to strength for sure. Everybody enjoying the party and going on down. There's Mr. Dynan getting a handshake in there. Yeah, look at that. I think Zach is having a great time as well. As I said, he's done a lot of club racing, and he's very quick and is a well-known coach. But for him to be able to have a second pro win, that's pretty cool. Let's get back down to Ryan with our silver winner, and they came from deep in the field.
They did, and managed to get an overall podium as well. Nick, we were marveling at just how far you guys had to come to get here, but you're making a habit out of this charging through the field thing.
Hey, for sure here at Cota, I love this track. Every time I come here, I get a nice podium. I couldn't have done it without Harry Gottsacker this weekend, especially with the STR crew, BMW Motorsports, all the support around and everything. It's a family membership, so we all get along together, and look what it does. It gives us our first place in the silver class and the P3 overall. We can't say anything more than that. We drove the wheels off it.
And Harry, if you could step in, this is home turf for you. You're a Texan, so any added special nature to this win, doing it on home soil?
Oh, definitely. I just want to thank all my family out in the RVs lot right now. They're all watching right now. Nick drove the wheels off of it. I'm just really excited right now. It was a great day.
It'll be a pairing to watch all year in the Silver Cup, guys.
That it will. They are stout, and I think we're going to see a lot from them. And as we've seen here, Cal, I think that performance that they just put in here has got to send some shivers through the rest of the silver field, because that BMW is not the strongest track for it, and yet they wielded at that level.
Yeah, it's a really strong weekend for them to get big points here at Cota. As we could see, the Porsches are really strong here, so for BMW, they'll be happy with that result.
All right, and of course, 3 classes here, and in the AM category, it's a rinse and repeat.
And it might have been the battle of the race as well. What a final couple of laps from you, Sean Gibbons. I'm sure you were driving in your mirrors as much as you were through the windshield.
You know, you got to try and forget some of that. I made one mistake. Alex did an amazing job getting by, and then it was on. I knew I had to get it back. Zach gave me a car that was ready to go, and, you know, was able to pull it off, just kind of set Alex up a little bit when he bit. Then I went underneath, and then just drive away. So awesome, awesome. Great job from NOLA and the team and all of our sponsors. Thank you. Awesome job from Zach as well.
I know that you put in a lot of work the last couple of years. How gratifying is it to see that work paying off with a couple of great results?
Oh, man, we've been working so hard. You know, last year we come second in that West Championship, but really weren't kind of fighting for the wins. And so working on the drive-in, working with Jason and the team to get up there and run at the front, I'm so happy.
Well done.
Thanks, guys. Woo!
Yeah, they did a really, really nice job, and Alex Welch made him earn it, no question about that. And of course, he's a former champion in the class, so he was able to, that charge late in that race by Alex Welch was really, really stellar, and made it darn near pay off, and it did at least get them up onto a podium and earn some very important points for going for the championship. So that second round in the books all started. Andrew Davis was on pole with Kenton Cook outside, but Jan Halen looking strong early, but Jason Hart, he said to you, I'm going to take it easy, and then he went for it.
He realized he had a car underneath him that he could go on the attack with. So from the pole position, Andrew had a brilliant start. You could see gaps the field initially, but then Jason Hart got into his rhythm. But there were battles throughout this field. This was really tight there through turn 15 there. Bill Altman ducks to the inside, takes advantage of a little bit of contact.
Absolutely, and it set that crossbow a little bit back in things, but then Kenton Cook and Jan Halen getting into a scrap. Big moment here as the TRG Porsche and the Reardon Aston Martin touch, cut the right rear tire of the Aston Martin, and Vesko Kozarov was done. Then after taking over from Davis, Jason Bell, quick spin, that cost him a little bit of time, and it allowed Andretti to sweep through and start to mount a charge. Well, at that point it was Colin Mullen, but this move by Nikolai Elganian was phenomenal. I think that was actually Matt Siljahag making that attack.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. And then a great battle between that crossbow and the Ginetta. And there you see Anderson getting really crossed up on the exit of turn 1.
But at the end, it was Jason Hart and Matt Travis who had taken over at the pit stop, bringing it through and earning his second consecutive win on the weekend, Cal, but more remarkably, 4th straight over 2 years.
Yeah, they're going to be tough to beat this year, but it's a very competitive field, and there'll be tracks where some of the other manufacturers may have the advantage on the Porsches. We'll have to wait and see how things play out.
Absolutely, and there was absolutely a fascinating race in every category. We could go back and find some really, really good battles. And if this is how this season starts in GT4 Sprint X, can't wait for the rest of the season.
Oh, it's fun. We've got a great calendar to look at. The schedule is tremendous in terms of the tracks that we'll be visiting. And you can see the depth of the competition. There's battles, whether it's for 1st, for 10th, for 20th. They're throughout this field all day long, it seems like.
Absolutely. And by my reckoning, I think the next race on the schedule for GT4 Sprint X might be their first street course.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one to see at Long Beach. So we'll wait and see how that one plays out. Certainly a different dynamic there in terms of how you have to manage a race and the track itself.
Yeah, and a big field as well. So, yeah, lots of things that are exciting on the horizon for Pirelli GT4 America Sprint X Championship competition during the season. And the racing here was absolutely superb. So we're really looking forward to the rest of the season unfolding. And again, next round of the championship, the Roar by the Shore on the streets of Long Beach, California, for Pirelli GT4 America Sprint X. For Calvin Fish and for Ryan Marine, absolutely delighted to have been here with you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Greg Creamer. We'll see you next time.